Testing at 7 seconds. All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Also want to give double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, who teach in truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutations to the helpful elect that scattered four corners of the earth, which you so-called Negroes, Latino, Hispanics, Native American Indians, the true Israelites that's coming out the elect nation of Israel, and the only nation, Israel, that the Lord is dealing with. It's brother Yowanathan from GMS Detroit, and this is an inspiration, just watching fellow brothers doing lessons, topics through the week, and was watching the brother Mahaloyam, with his topic with this, it was a TikTok, and, maybe it might be AI, regardless, if not, Esau has the technology to make these things come to pass, because what really resonate with me, even if it was AI or not, they got their studies correct, because it was a so-called a cyborg, a robot, and just to add edification on that, when you saw that cyborg hitting the punching bag, kicking the punching bag, it was doing taekwondo moves, and in the state of Korea, that is like, Jake all here, we like boxing, Bruce Lee was Chinese, so he was really into Kung Fu, but the national, like the tradition of Koreans and their martial art is Taekwondo, which is the master of kicking. All right, but nevertheless, the point is, it was just seeing, that cyborg doing, very serious, pristine martial arts in the craft. But you say, like, if Jake was to come up to it, you can't choke that out, you can't shoot it, so on and so forth. But the point where, the brother was getting into, and even the brother that taught me, there's going to be a point where the Lord is going to have to lift the standard, and I was going to title this, The Lord Will Lift a Standard, Spiritual Powers for Jake for the times to come. All right, so the first point I want to get into, let me break this up. Let me get Job 29:4. I'm sorry, 24:9. This is Job 9:24. It says, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right, so the world was given into the hands of the wicked, and it was given into Esau, and the ones who really ruling it is Esau, but the higher ups, Amalek, the elites that's rolling, that's putting this out here, they're the ones who got their hands in the cookie jar from every aspects of the world, from the military, the money, the medication, so on and so forth. So when you look at it, there's no advantage that Jake has. That's why they call us, like, a worm. A worm is a very defenseless animal or creature. You know, all we have is the soil. You know, we have no type of defense to us. We have no type of attack. Like certain animals, like a snake, at least a snake got venom if they want to fight. But a worm has nothing, man. All they can do is just eat decaying vegetation. But let's get deeper into it, because that's when you actually get into Revelations, the 6th chapter, when it talks about the red horse. So it's Revelation 6. It says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace on the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. And that's talking about Edom, you know, the nation of Edom, man. You know, when their power, like you said, when you get into a horse also is a representation of power. You know, it gets into, you know, your government and stuff like that. But, you know, it also, you know, horses, you know, a representation of power. And when you get into Genesis 27 and 40, you know, when it was talking about, you know, the sword, you know, that's another one of the power, the main, the blessings that Esau Edom was the sword. Man, to, you know, when you come into a fight, you know, who do you think is going to win? Someone with bare knuckles, or someone that has a pistol, or actually even someone with a literal sword? Yeah, you might get punched, knocked out, you know, you might feel something, but a sword is going to cause detrimental damage in a battle. And when you look at it through history, through the knowledge and through the, you know, technology that the Lord gave Esau Edom, from, you know, the sword, from getting into iron to getting into, you know, gunsmithing, even their technology from making missiles, bazookas, even to these ICBM missiles, man. We can't stand a chance against those things. All right? So the point is, that's why the Lord has to lift up the standard, because there's no way that, you know, a Jake can take on Edom's first off armies and weaponry, because that is what the Lord blessed them with. And the only way we can defeat that is if Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is to intervene and to jump into the battle. Okay? You know, and we got tons of prophets. And that goes for, I forgot who that one so-called Israelite that was preaching, talking about y'all scared, y'all got faith. If I can find it, you know, I'll probably do a second segment on it. But, you know, the scriptures to talk about, you know, let me grab that. I believe it's Timothy, 1st or 2nd Timothy. I'm in 1st Timothy right now. Yep. This is 1st Timothy chapter 3 and verse 6. It says, not a novice, least being lifted up with pride, he fall into the combination of the devil. Because this particular, you know, so-called, he was a Jake, he was an Israelite that was preaching, but yet he was a young man, and he was still green. And when you get into a green, when the old man or old head talks to you about being green, it's talking about you're a novice, you're a beginner. You know, it's basically getting into, you don't know really what you're talking about. You know, saying things like, oh, don't you got faith? You know, that the Lord's going to save you. Now, when you look at the account, you know, when you look at David, when you look at Elijah, so on and so forth, you get to a point where you understand that, hey, the Lord doesn't deal with us on that level anymore. All right? Like, you know, David was, you know, slaughtering thousands. And I think that was, let me grab that, 1 Samuel 18. And I'll just start at the point. It was 1 Samuel 1 Samuel 18 and verse 7. And the woman answered one another and prayed and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. So with the power of the Lord, or calling upon the Lord, man, one man was slaying 10,000. And Elijah, man, he was calling on fire to rain down against his enemies. Okay? Now, and this is just my opinion, this is just really just my opinion. I believe, like, our elders and apostles, man, they are the most righteous beings on the earth when it comes to the scriptures and how about Shemiah shine, man. But you don't see them calling down or can call down, you know, legions of angels. That just goes to show, like I was saying earlier, that the Lord is not dealing with us on that level. Okay? You know, we can still pray, you know, because David was a man that was all about prayer, like Psalms 144, you know? But it's going to be a time where the Lord has to lift up a standard, you know, and he can. Like when you get into Matthew 6. Because with spiritual powers, man, you can do a lot. So this is just the least of the things that you can do. Oh, I'm sorry. 27. It says, which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? And just being silly, not really being silly, but you know, it was, you know, in the moment, you know, we had a brother from Florida. He brought that scripture out. You know, he was all like, "Yo, I'm you know, 5'5". You know, I'm not giving out his whole personal, but he's like, maybe next day I want to be 6'2". You know, adding, you know, inches, adding a foot to yourself, adding feet to yourself. That's the least what you can do. So imagine what, you know, spiritual powers you can do to the highest degree. All right, shoot, you might be Kevin Hart, and with spiritual powers, you might can bang with Yao Ming. You know, and as like I said, that's the lowest of what spiritual powers can do. All right, but the point is that with Esau's blessing and what he's going to do in a full fold, we're going to need the Heavenly Father's help to come against this demon, man. You know, because, you know, we got the full blessing, you know, and the Lord's got, and the heathens just got, you know, the sword, the dew of the earth, and so on and so forth. But we're gonna need help, man. You can actually, like when I was watching that video with the brother from Kansas City, you know, that's just an example, because there actually is drones, like little drone dogs that can break in at doors, so on and so forth, that can, you know, snipe you, and imagine the other technologies that's hidden behind closed doors. You know, from, you know, we see the drones, we see the androids, what's it, exoskeleton suits, so on and so forth. I was watching TikTok that I was watching. They had a suit that can actually, you know, walk through mines. And, you know, Jake, man, like I said, we defenseless worms, man. And, you know, your Jake one where, you know, got Glocks, chops, but we can't compare to your average Jake. I'm sorry, your average Edomites that has gun lockers and the real military. We can't stand up against that, man. So we gotta really just believe in the Lord, man. Okay? You know, I was just trying to make it simple, just for the elect to get this. Okay? So we gotta pray, do our just diligence to make a calling and election sure. All right? So I'm just gonna end off on that. And again, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to do to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. And again, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. Also, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect. I'm going to close out, say shalom, and on to the next lesson.